This is Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor. You're listening to Gallifrey Public Radio. Go and throw yourself under a bus. I didn't mean to say that. He told me to say that.
This is Gallifrey Public Radio, a weekly podcast dedicated to positive enjoyment of Doctor Who. We travel through classic and new episodes, explore the extended universe, and play a few games from time to time. We do discuss news, content that has been officially released, and the occasional interesting rumor, but we'll warn you before anything considered spoilers comes up. Welcome to episode 372 of Gallifrey Public Radio, where we're just exhausted. I mean, really. We tried to prepare. We thought we had some idea what we were in for, and we're going to need at least like 9 or 10 months of downtime, seriously. I'm Keir.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Jay. And this week, Series 12 slams to a close with what could be among the most tumultuous and canon-shaking finales that Doctor Who has ever seen, as the 13th Doctor learns of the Timeless Children. There were a lot of unresolved plot points going into this, and with 65 minutes to address them all, frantic would be a bit of an understatement.
Absolutely. Of the century, or millennia, or multiple millennia, I guess, depending on the scope you want to look at it. Haley, your right off the cuff, the credits just rolled reaction to what you just saw.
Holy carp.
But to the positive, or to the
yes.
Confused, or...
Yes.
Okay, just everything. Just
yeah.
I
mean, like, it ended, and I was like, all right, I need to rewatch this, and I need to see what happens next. Both of those things need to happen right now. And I also need to watch everything else that came before.
Yeah, right? Definitely going to have to address that one. I have to agree. It was one where I felt, as we alluded to, almost tired at the end of it, but not because it was, in any way a letdown. It was just a ton to process. As I think the Doctor says at one point, it was just a lot of stimuli. But I didn't know really what my opinion was. You just kind of sat back and said, wow, I've just witnessed a lot of stuff. And it was difficult to even digest, let alone formulate an opinion until you went back to see it a second or a third time.
Kind of in the same boat as you. It was just, I had no idea what my opinion was. I was very confused, and I don't want to say conflicted, but there was a lot of like, I'm not sure how to take what I just saw. Like, I was running through my head, and I understand that with Doctor Who, canon is a dirty word, but like checking against past canon, I'm like, it doesn't conflict anywhere, but it feels weird. And it just kind of had that, like, I spent the rest of the evening trying to process what I had just seen.
Right. Yeah. And maybe that's a great way of sort of describing a lot of people's live tweet reactions and initial post-mortem reactions and things, was just that there's so much thrown at you here that it was as if Chibnall stepped back and said, yeah, you've been Moffated before. Let's see what happens when we turn that to 11. You can tell he's been sitting on this idea for a long, long time. So if we're all in agreement on that, let's peel a little further into the layers on this onion, shall we?
Sounds good.
Yep.
Is it hurting, Doctor? I hope it's hurting, because it really hurt me.
It's all lies. None of this is the truth.
For the first time in my life, I can honestly say every word is true.
I know my life. I know who I am.
No, you don't. You never have. Your life has been hidden from you. Our founding parents wanted a noble creation myth for the Time Lords. Born to rule.
I remember my home. I remember growing up. I remember you and me at the academy together.
That happened. It just wasn't your first life.
Why would they lie?
wish it wasn't true, but it is. You know what I find the most infuriating? You always behaved like you were different, like you were special. And you were.
Chibnall had a lot riding on this, reputation-wise, legacy-wise, and so forth. One of the things that we all said over the last couple of weeks and heard countless times from others was, yeah, you've got some interesting things teed up here. I really hope that he can stick the landing. That choice of words specifically. So did Chris Chibnall stick the landing with the Lone Cybermen and Timeless Children arc?
Yeah.
First pass, yes. That's without really trying to pick everything apart.
Do you feel you've gotten to the point where now with maybe a couple of rewatches, or I should say, at least a rewatch under your belt, that you're starting to get to that picky phase?
I would think anything that I was going to pick apart at this point that I wasn't already picking at, it would come after rewatching the whole series and seeing how all the pieces fit together.
Right. Okay. See where the breadcrumbs were, and maybe some red herrings along the way. I get that. Okay. Jay, how did you feel as far as the idea of establishing the Chibnall era legacy?
He definitely left his mark on the show. Again, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, while there were plenty of things that got answered, it definitely left as many, if not more, questions for future series. So while I definitely think that he stuck the landing on this one. It was a great conclusion. He pretty much wrapped up everything that he needed to for this to feel complete. Mm-hmm. He definitely set up some things, and so I'm looking forward into future series. I hope he can stick the landing.
It just continues to go from landing to landing to landing. It's like watching American Ninja Warriors, seeing if he can leap onto the next podium. Got it. I have to say, as far as cast performances, there were some things I saw in this story in particular that really gave me a lot of satisfaction, as far as things that I was hoping to see. Just right off the top, because I know this is one that a lot of people will continue to talk about for a while, was obviously with the return of Sacha Dhawan as our master, as whatever master we're going to refer to him, spy master, if we could even use that term anymore. That doesn't even apply. Shoot, that was so 10 episodes ago. But this wildly insane, I almost want to say to a certain degree, his performance in this story reminded me nearly of a Jack Nicholson Joker. The body language, the wild takes, the wanting to be that the close talker at times, really wanting to get up close, even to the lone Cyberman's face, like really checking out those prosthetics. How's that doing? Mm-hmm. I just thought it was fascinating. What were some of the performance aspects that really jumped out at the two of you?
I thought Sacha Dhawan really played the unhinged lunatic really well this time. That's the only way that I can think to describe it.
Yeah, kind of combining an unhinged lunatic with a petulant child.
Yes. You could see that he was jealous of the doctor and throwing a temper tantrum. It's like, I want that toy too, kind of thing.
I see the jealousy and the spite, but we always had, and he did express at one point, that undertone of disgust at the fact that what he learned was something inescapable for him personally. He literally feels like at a genetic level that he's been one-upped. Mm-hmm. And that eats at him to a degree that he, even in all of his madness, couldn't adequately express.
Well, if the doctor's going to found a race, he'll found a bigger and better race that'll destroy her race. That'll show her.
Right.
I have something about that entire plan that I want to ask the two of you about in just a minute, but I do want to see who else among our cast, our primary and our supporting casts, really were kind of some of the gems of this particular story. Anybody else really leap out into the forefront?
Are we saving the obvious for the end? Because Yaz.
No, let's just do that right now. I want to give all the time necessary for Yaz to have all the space that she deserves. I had two emotional, really visceral emotional moments in this entire story. I had a lot of things that I grinned at, a lot of things that I, kind of hooted at, or did the sort of the mental equivalent of a fist pump in the air, which I don't personally understand the entire fist pump in the air thing, but whatever. That's so Clone Wars. But the moment where she and Graham get to have their heart-to-heart, which we've been seeing, those tiny little hints of along the way. This conversation, this opportunity for Graham to stop her in whatever slide that she was on, or spiral, and give her that much-needed affirmation was gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
I feel like this made up for all of the times of us saying, why haven't they been able to speak? It's because they were saving it up for this moment.
Mm-hmm. And the way that carries to right at the edge of the boundary, as they get there and say, well, which one of us is going to be the first? Oh, there she goes. Total Gryffindor, charging right into the thing. And did you notice, because I watched the clip a couple times, when she gets right to the edge of the thing, she does this crazy front kick, like she's almost... It was not like there was no trepidation to her stepping through. It's almost as if she leaned back and shoved her foot through the thing to make an entrance like that. It was amazing. Loved it. So that was emotional moment one, and emotional moment two was totally at the opposite end of the story. When the Doctor finally finds her TARDIS again, puts her hand on the side, and the windows light up, and she says, "Hello, mate." Mm-hmm. That was just I broke. That was my Cheaty moment. That broke me. That right there.
Yep.
But yes, I mean, as far as Yaz altogether, as far as really coming to recognize her, or get that affirmation for her worth, her strength, her independence, her courage. Did anybody worry that this was going to be the setup for? Oh, okay, they just had a heart-to-heart moment. One of them's going to go.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I think almost everybody had their moment of. I mean, right after Ryan shot his basketball bomb,
and he was bragging, I was like, "Ryan, you can't do that. You're a supporting character."
Yeah. I was waiting for him to go down. I really was.
He was really. I gotta say, he was actually kind of really sidelined quite a bit.
He got Yaz Series 11 treatment.
Yeah,
like it was like, here, do some actiony stuff with the side characters. Have fun.
Right. Well, he got to run around and have a lot of fun with Space Moses.
Who I realized after we recorded last week is Barristan Selmy from Game of Thrones. Yep. That's who that is.
That's, well, you got a limited amount of talent that you can use.
Yep.
Let's go back to that trope. Oh, by the way, credit to Kyle Anderson for coming up with the Space Moses thing. I can't remember the character's name anymore.
Starts with a K.
He's Space Moses. That's all I got.
Moses.
So this idea of this origin story, the tapping into the Matrix, the digestion of the information, and this slow reveal to the audience and to the Doctor as the eyes for our audience of what the Master has learned. This is what really kind of blew everything out of the water, right? I can understand like giving me a sort of a Gallifreyan origin story, and I thought that was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Tecteun and the Sheboygans and this, but and then as each layer peeled back further and further, I was impressed with so many aspects of the way that it was executed and specifically directed. I got to give some credit to the work on the way that those scenes were chosen as to when they would come to us, and which ones were going to be ones where the Doctor and Master were present in the simulation or in the Matrix memory reenactment, and where it was just sort of done from this very disconnected sort of shaky cam. That played in very nicely to keeping us off kilter and keeping us wondering whether, up until some of the very last moments, whether what we were seeing was actually valid or not. But how did the various pieces of this, as far as the explanation of the origins, the science of the isolating the regenerative capabilities, and seeing some of these first regenerations of these children being tested on, how did all of that play in your head as you were being exposed to this?
So more on the second watch, I kept wondering, like, what is this kid doing to keep having so many childhood regenerations?
Okay.
Or like, what kind of life cycle is it that she was a child for so long for so many regenerations.
To me, that was the way I understood that was that Tecteun was basically forcing the regenerations, like experimenting on her to the point where she would just constantly have to regenerate.
Right.
So it was forced upon her, basically.
See, I wasn't getting that. I got more of a loving relationship from Tecteun. So I don't know that I bought that.
I got the sinister vibe too.
Okay.
Sort of this sort of the very there was some duality to it. There was the protective maternal aspect of I have to be the caretaker of this child, but this child is so unique and has something that can benefit everyone, or maybe not. I didn't see it selfishly necessarily, but in the interest of science, right? This was Tecteun was an explorer and a risk taker and all these things. So maybe there was a certain blurring of the lines of morality in that regard that led her to say, well, in a safe, quotey fingers, safe, controlled environment, under my personal care and attention, to see that no true harm, because it didn't look in any of those moments like the child was under duress. Mm-hmm. Particularly, certainly not pain, the physical pain, but the idea of learning from this child that you are the caretaker for, it didn't sit quite right with me. But yeah, and Jay, going back to your point about the idea of maybe something in the way that she was forcing these, or learning some components of how the regenerative process worked, she was able to ensure that the regeneration stayed youthful, I guess, so that regenerate as a child, you remain a child.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the sequence, the little montage they did, were showing kids of roughly the same age regenerating, and then with each subsequent regeneration, you were dealing with a child who was slightly older, until you ended up with about what looked to be maybe a teenager or so by the time that little sequence ended. Wonderful to see the diversity in all of the regenerations represented as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Including Tecteun's first regeneration, once she isolates that property and is able to take, as the master says, that ultimate risk. So that leads me to two questions, neither of which I have a really good answer for. Perhaps the easier one of the two is, does anybody else wonder how quickly the cover-up myth was established and how few of the early Time Lords really knew it, so that the truth of who the Timeless Child was could be very quickly buried?
I think it's entirely possible that it was only Tecteun and the child that knew.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that it was probably the ruling elite. Like, Tecteun kind of like, hey, look at this power that I have, and the people that had power said, ooh, we can use this, let's make sure nobody else can. Like, so I do think that you probably, moving forward, we might hear names dropped like Omega, Rassilon,
right?
Hear that they were part of the whole orchestration and then claimed credit for whatever.
Unless they were either strawmen, or I don't want to say that they were patsies in any way, because they benefited from whatever smokescreen was thrown in place. But whether or not they were cognizant of the truth that they were in position to distract from, I don't know.
I mean, or is it possible that those are two names that apply to the people in this origin story?
That would then mean that, and this goes to my other really larger question, which has to do with looking back on everything we've been told before. It changes even the most veteran of long-term Whovian viewer to go back and see whether or not this canonical template actually fits on everything we've watched previously. You saw during the whole blow the Matrix's mind sequence, when you go through that amazing crash sequence of edits, repeatedly through that sequence we get the scene from Brain of Morbius, which was always this really weird point in canonical reference because it showed faces other than the faces of the Doctor that we knew. And it was like, who were these other faces supposed to be? Not necessarily what actors represented them, but who were they supposed to represent? And this was Chibnall saying, "No, I'm going to fold this into my story too, and say this covers that. Congratulations, continuity," along with a ton of other questions.
Right.
But it leaves me to wonder, I dare say worry, about looking from standing exactly where we are in the viewing history of this program for people who are relatively new to the show, who are starting to get, maybe they came in during the 11th Doctor or 12th Doctor, or maybe even this past season or two, and are starting to understand the larger scope of the universe and wanting to go back and find the classics, right? Maybe they picked up a BritBox subscription. Maybe they're going to go rent some Blu-rays from their library or something, or what have you. But now they're going to be watching all of those past stories for the first time with a very specific frame of mind. And for people who are now watching, like ourselves, who think we have kind of followed along with how canon has been every 2 to 3 years, it's like the model design on a car. Every 2 to 3 years, change the model up a little bit. Yeah. Now it means that going forward, we're cognizant of something happening under the hood that really casts a very interesting lens on anything that has to do with the Doctor's backstory or influence upon the universe.
Right. I think there's always been story changes, though, that can cast that kind of light or shadow on previous stories.
Okay. This
just happens to be the most recent, and we haven't seen what's going to come next, the way we have with some of those other moments.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I have with it doesn't really... I like the fact that there's enough vagueness to it that I don't see it really conflicting with established quote-unquote canon. My problem is that, up to this point, we're looking at this being like, wow, the Doctor is doing all of this incredible stuff because they're just the best Time Lord there is. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, the Doctor was doing all this incredible stuff because they're better than Time Lords. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of that thing of like, when you're younger, it's like, oh, Superman's awesome because he's got all these superpowers. But then you grow up and realize that Batman's awesome because he doesn't have superpowers and does all that. And I feel like this kind of reversed that, where it's like, no. It wasn't just because they were awesome. It's because they're actually better.
You're not the first person I've heard to express that concern. You're taking the title character for the show, who has always been sort of the champion of the little person, right, or the downtrodden, or so on, and didn't do so because they were super strong or super powerful or whatever. They did it because they had a massive degree of care and concern and the intelligence and the wit to be able to carry things out for the good of all, without having to be a brute, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're saying that they have some sort of literally genetic predisposition to be superior. I know these are very landmine terms to be kind of throwing around, like genetic superiority and so forth, but literally that's kind of some of the things that we're pulling out of this. That changes a bit of the tone. I absolutely see that, Jay. I don't know if I'm as concerned about it because I don't know if it's going to continue to be, or whether it's in some way going to be diluted or waved away in things that will change in the years to follow, or maybe disproven, or who knows what. We've got that whole redacted chunk.
Yeah.
Well, hasn't this always been an issue with the show, though? Because you have, before this even, the Doctor is a Time Lord, which is this race that has all these abilities and powers, and they don't really die the way that humans do, and they're always surrounded by humans. So it doesn't seem like it's that much different than what we had before. It's just now that we find out that there was also that difference between the Doctor and the other Time Lords. It's not just between the Doctor and humans.
Yeah, and I mean, this was like my high level kind of almost instant reaction. Like, I mean, this is something that I was voicing concern about sitting on the couch within the first 5 minutes after the credits rolled. It's, I mean, the concern about it has lessened since then, but it's still kind of there in the back of my mind, bugging me, and it's just something that I'm going to watch moving forward.
My first thought was, oh, now we get to go on the quest to find the Doctor's real parents.
Well, and that's honestly, I kind of had that thought. I was like, oh, well, this is how the Doctor's going to defeat the cyber Time Lords or whatever. Is she's going to open the rift and bring the rest of the timeless children through. She's going to, like, bring her entire race to Gallifrey, and then all of a sudden it's just, all right, we're the status quo is reestablished. It's just a higher level.
So as for the solution that we did end up with, the whole idea of turning around once again, hey, taking the weapon you were going to use against me and use it against you, using the death particle against our CyberMasters, which was not the name I would have gone with. Cyber Lords, I think, would have been better. Cybes. Breaker 19, calling all Cybes.
Yep.
Cyber Time Lord is what I thought when I saw them marching in.
Yeah.
Right. But, oh, what a reveal. Tell me those things don't look the most badass you've ever seen.
Keir's got some cosplay to work on.
Right.
Oh, my God. I can't even begin. I can't imagine. That's all. That's vacuum form and oh, man. Those things are just gorgeous. With spikes on their shoulders. Why?
Right.
Why do spikes? Well, just because.
Why not?
Because the master is a 12-year-old in his heart, and of course there's spikes.
Yeah. Well, I think I didn't notice it last week, but I think the cyber warriors that were in the stasis chambers had those things. That was part of that design. And the only change that we saw here was that we got the collars, we got the capes, and we got Gallifreyan script, which I'm dying to know whether there's any significance to all the etching that was all over them. I will leave that to somebody with far more free time, because someone's going to take it apart for me if they haven't done it already. But that idea of, I saw somebody questioning why it was exactly that the Master left the compressed lone Cyberman right there on the floor for the Doctor to find. And I have a theory on this, but I want to see if either of you draw the same sort of conclusion. Why do you think that he left the obvious death particle right there?
Because he had a serious death wish.
Thank you.
I mean, they all but said that when he compressed him, and he was like, "Oh, I was wondering if it was going to go off." Oh well, it's a shame. Like clearly he was just ready. He's like, "Oh well, I guess I'm not dead. All right, fine. On to step 2 of the program. Let's see when I actually do die."
Yeah. Between that sequence, which I thought was a fascinating little turn, like that was dark, but dark in a very unusual way, specifically for the Master to say, "Oh, okay." I expected that thing to fire. Well, and how did he say it? Here we are, all still alive. But then to go and poke the bear once again, to do the sort of I guess this is the Gallifreyan equivalent of putting your head against the barrel when someone's pointing a gun at you and screaming, "Do it, do it, do it." To do that to the Doctor when she walks in with the grenade strapped to your action figure. Yeah, he wanted this to be over. I think the madness had really driven him to the point where, and he wasn't going to do it by his own hand. Hell no.
Well, no, because that's just wrong. No, I feel like that in that moment was more, he had fully accepted the fact that he was going to die. Like, he was ready to die, but that was the last ditch effort to try and bring the Doctor down to his level. The Master has done that numerous times where it's like, I'm going to give you the chance to just completely and utterly destroy my plans or destroy me or whatever. But in doing so, that means that you're not on the pedestal that you try and attain. And I feel like this was the same kind of thing where it's like, I am more than willing to sacrifice myself if it means that I get to prove that you are not, holier than thou.
So in those final moments, did he really expect to continue? I'm not really sure that he was stable enough to stay singularly focused on either outcome. It was like the Schrodinger's brain as far as ready to live, ready to die, whatever happens, but I'm going to be on top no matter what. Either I live and conquer everything on my own terms, or I die and take everyone out with me on my own terms. Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, he did a great job of playing completely unhinged, because there were a lot of times where I just couldn't really understand where he was going with it.
He was having a hell of a lot of fun in the process, though.
True.
It does leave us with the sort of connected, the redacted sequence, which had to do with getting the final pieces of what this whole division and some of the Irish memories that the Doctor was having, and the justification or the explanation that that Ruth gives to 13. as they're having that final conversation about I'm here just as much as you are. I now have an understanding as to why I don't remember you, but I don't know how much of you or how many of you or me I don't remember. So Haley, going back to, you were saying that we might want to spend some time in some of the stories to follow pursuing the Doctor's parentage, but we've also got this that can be the hunt for missing data.
Right. So I feel like those are the two big realms that were opened up with this that can be multi-season arcs, even, is the Doctor discovering her origin and then rediscovering her past. And we have no idea how much past there is that she has lost. Mm-hmm. And after watching this, I kind of think Ruth probably fits into her, secret agent Doctor time frame.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, we don't know where in her tenure she was then either.
Sure, she could be the original. We don't. Well,
not the original.
Yeah, no.
But she could be like Brendan original.
Right. Well, the only thing that I can possibly point at to say that gets us closer to where we needed to be was the fact that when they jumped into a base TARDIS, that was there was no change in Ruth's TARDIS. Ruth's TARDIS stayed basis, right? Or what we consider entry level, a blank template. Although
she still got the Windows default setup.
But why was Ruth's TARDIS a police box? That one doesn't stick.
Maybe that's why the first Doctor chose that, is like he felt a kinship to that design. And it was just like some passive memory or something.
No, I agree. That one's... that's kind of one of those, not necessarily plot holes, but definitely makes you wonder, were they really thinking every step of the way through this?
Well, it could work if it puts Hartnell and Ruth really close together.
Yeah, if Ruth were the final one before Hartnell, then it would make sense. We just assumed that the TARDIS took on that shape because they landed in 1963, but even then, the police boxes were old and outdated.
Right. It does also give us some opportunity to go back and look at like some of the novels and things, even Lung Barrow, that would say, where does picking up Susan fit into all this? Because if she only really ever addresses First Doctor as grandfather, then that means that it's within that regeneration, and maybe that's all that she knows. It might not be by blood, but it might just be by, call me Pops kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the fact that this leaves us really questioning a lot of things that we thought we already understood.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of what made Chibnall's his play clever in that regard, because he knew that he was tapping very particular things about what he, as a longtime Doctor Who fanatic, enjoyed and questioned and wondered about. So this is his way of twisting it.
I feel like one of the greatest gifts that this provides for us is that we're able to now look at the toxic gatekeeper portions of the fandom and be like, no, actually, you don't know a damn thing about the show anymore. You can't tell me that I'm not a fan because I don't understand your trivia, because your trivia is useless at this point.
You're saying their trivia is trivial?
I was going to, but then,
I saw it laying there. I picked it up for you. You're welcome. But it's that ain't keeping them from getting angry.
Oh, no.
But they were going to be mad anyways.
I love it.
They've been mad for always, but especially for the last couple of years.
Seething. They're seething. You've destroyed the show. Oh, I thought you said you destroyed it last year. No, this is double destroyed. Double plus destroyed.
You destroyed what was left.
You destroyed the rubble that I liked.
Why did you pee on the ashes?
It's like, I thought you weren't watching anymore.
Right,
I'm not, but I read an article.
Sure. The Twitter accounts I blocked in the last 24 hours or so of people that were complaining about it in one tweet, and then we're complaining about it up to 30 minutes prior to airtime, and then proceeded to scream and rail about it for hours and hours during and afterward, but then spent time criticizing the news outlets for getting the facts wrong on some of their recap stories. It's just unbelievable. Like, you got to pick a hill to die on Just please, but just die. Just get on the hill and die there, please. But,
I mean, one thing is sure, though, is that Doctor Who, as we knew it, is no more. Like, the playing field is completely leveled at this point, and we all, new and old Whovians alike, are like, I got no idea what's coming next.
I just want to know how the Jadoon got into the TARDIS.
Yeah, that one that one kind of stuck with me too. But
That's after everything you've just shown me, then you give me that. What?
To be fair, the Doctor was also confused.
Maybe she didn't lock the door. She was so tired. I mean, she was knackered when she walked in.
She left the door unlocked for her fam, forgetting that she'd dropped them off.
so that leads me to a question of what do we think's going to happen with the companions next? This would be a perfect spot to just be like, you know what? New companions next season.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we really got our goodbye, though.
You know who else didn't get a goodbye? I'm just saying though, like if they wanted to switch the companions up, this would be they've left it wide open to do so. It might not be what we wanted, but they could definitely do it without any hiccup in the story at all.
I think if these companions are exiting, it would be during the Christmas special or whatever holiday special. It might be like a one last run with the Doctor, and then I kind of think maybe there will be like some period of time where they were back home not traveling, and it's like, well, I had my adventures with you, but this is my life here now.
Yeah.
Until we meet again.
I can definitely get that.
Here's all I know. The Doctor's incarcerated. The Space Fam are back in Sheffield with a working TARDIS.
Yeah. Rescue.
Yep. Big rescue mission.
And probably a TARDIS exploding at some point, because we don't need two of them.
Yeah. One of the two has to go.
Yep.
And the one that can actually properly disguise itself as a rural
tree.
or a suburban flat. Yeah, that thing's got to go. The tree. Did you say something about the fact that she's just going to leave it there? It's like no one's going to notice.
Yep.
It's just a tree and a quarry. No big deal.
Chekhov's TARDIS tree.
Anytime you need it, it'll be there. Just that's gonna be fantastic. You imagine like a year and a half from now, in some completely disconnected episode, you get yourself into some weird pinch, and someone stumbles down a rock scree, and it's what's this? A tree.
Yep. There were so many points that just would be rife for spin-offs. I mean, you can have all kinds of pre-Doctor adventures now. You can have
Big Finish is losing their mind.
Yes.
Give me the rights. Give me the rights. Give me the rights. Give me the rights. Give me the rights.
We've got so many Agent the Doctor stories to tell.
Well, that's the thing is like they left it so completely vague that Big Finish can run 75 different things and still not cover, still not ruin any stories that Chibnall might have in laying around.
Right. It's true.
So, this just came to me. So, first of all, I'm pretty sure this means the Doctor doesn't have the regeneration limit like the other Time Lords, because she comes by her regenerations by different means. But also, the Doctor's daughter from way back when, she's more like whatever the Doctor is than what the Time Lords are, I would think.
Yeah, because she was pretty much cloned exactly.
Yeah,
right.
So I have so many more questions about her now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So Jenny's back in the forefront. But this also means that this gives so much credibility to Doctor being half human. That's absolutely plausible.
Oh,
I mean,
damn
the
it.
Doctor could be half Jadoon. We have no way of knowing.
I thought we put the half human thing to rest.
No, absolutely not. I think that's always been on the table, and I don't
But
think
there's also no way the Doctor could know if they were half human, because the Doctor doesn't know their origin.
Unless that's just something that it just seeps through. I don't know.
Or maybe only the 8th Doctor had those memories.
Right. Something in that particular mix-up. Speaking of like little pieces there, the fact that the Master once again kept referring to brain as brains, I wanted to pick more of that apart, but I think it was really just the pluralization of, boy, look at the brains on that guy.
Yeah.
Kind of a...
That was my thought too.
But the first time he said that, though, it was like it didn't fit the meter of the sentence quite right. I was like, wait, hearts, brains, what? Where
Oh no,
where are you going with
my
this?
girlfriend pointed the same thing out, and I kind of had to. I think he meant it like this, but yeah.
Hemispheres. Got it.
I still feel like this master doesn't track correctly from where Missy ended.
Yeah, I don't know. That got lost in the chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be a few more in between there for sure. How we get from, what would that be like, from F to K or wherever we are in the alphabet of masterful regenerations there? I don't know.
Yeah, or I know we, at some point, we and the rest of the fandom theorized that this master maybe came before Missy, which I think might make more sense.
I agree.
But then that means we have to have some sort of a restoration of Gallifrey, because it didn't seem to faze Missy in the least going back to Gallifrey. And honestly, I've read more than a few assessments of this close of the season saying, you know what, maybe we're finally done with Gallifrey. They wanted it to be done. How many times can you destroy this city, this culture, this planet, this what have you?
Yeah, we watched the Doctor walk around in the ashes for a while.
Yeah.
As I said before, like maybe not destroy Gallifrey the planet, but if the Doctor can bring the rest of her race through, it would be the chance to return to Gallifrey and have the Time Lords, so to speak, or whatever, without retconning everything that happened.
Or, like, let the planet be destroyed, but maybe there's some refugees somewhere.
The Sheboygans. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
That's where they
deserve
live,
to
is
die.
Sheboygan.
Yeah.
It's a colony.
I'm going with Sheboygans. I know it's Shebogans, or I'm going with Sheboygans.
Yeah, it can't be
care.
helped. They clearly only had British people in the room when they wrote the story.
Well, there's all kinds of things. This could go so many different ways, and for as lost as we felt after the opening two-parter, like I don't know where this is going. I feel like we had a roadmap for us after that one. Here, we are rudderless.
Good.
Yeah,
That's a great way to head into the next season.
yeah. I'm excited.
Yep. So, after you go through the credits, which we all do now, we were expecting to see something, and all we were given was a title card.
Yep.
The Doctor will return, not Doctor and companions, not, sometimes we've had, there have been instances where we've had things like the Doctor and Clara will return, or what have you. This just the Doctor will return in Revolution of the Daleks. Oh boy.
Yeah,
The Daleks are back.
I was so disappointed. I was like, Daleks again? I thought we weren't going to do that every year.
Gotta get in there.
So far we've gotten one Dalek story from Chibnall, and it was actually an interesting take on it. Like we might have suspected that we were going to see Daleks, but it was enough of a departure from the norm that I remember most of the fandom, being somewhat pleased with it. Like for a Dalek story, that was pretty good. If he's coming out swinging, saying, no, this is going to be a Dalek story, I'm not going to, try and sneak it in. I'm interested to see what kind of take it. Like, I mean, Chibnall has gotten a lot of good faith from me at this point. Like, I'm willing to give him a lot of room to just be like, all right, you know what? Just tell me a story. I'm willing to sit back and see what happens.
Who could have guessed, Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Revolution of the Daleks. Then you get to play with, how many times have we played this game? The blank of the Daleks, the this of the Daleks, the that of the Daleks. We've literally played games. The something of the Daleks. But this being, is this going to be yet another, here's a Dalek with a heart of gold, or what have you? It's, Rusty Part 2, or who knows what. But the Doctor's in jail at the Jadoon's hand for being the fugitive. There's like that whole fugitive storyline is still playing here, and they even said when they went busting into the TARDIS, they're the cold case department, which I thought was fantastic. Like how old does the case against the Doctor need to be considered a cold case?
Oh, geez.
3 millennia, 5 millennia, 2 eons.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
It absolutely will be. But we will know they again are not necessarily tipping. They're saying this holiday season, the official press release is referring to a holiday especially yet again. So, but, looking at the calendar, it's not a full calendar year. So, no worry about, it's not a New Year's to New Year's kind of delay or anything like that. I'm okay with that. But I really hope that this new marketing department, or some of the marketing team that have been put in place since roughly around the time the series started, when they were just hired to fill that swinging chair, have been doing a really great job. They've had some interesting strategies. The social media profiles have been really active, and they've been getting back to doing those goofy little games and stuff. Like Jodie and Mandeep having marshmallow eating contests.
And the floor puzzle. Oh.
Yeah. So give us some of those during the break. Keep us happy and entertained, even if it's just be-real footage and stuff that you had laying around, outtakes or who knows what, just to keep us happy.
You know what? I would forego the rest of that just to see a web series where Graham O'Brien picks up and continues Brian's log.
I would go one further. I would take a travel dining show with Graham, where he doesn't travel more than about 6 blocks from his flat.
He rates Toasties.
Yeah, that's just it. This is fantastic meatball sub. This is the best one you can get on 3 streets.
If you're ready to get into some Doctor Who discussion with a lot of other Whovians, then hopefully you were quick on the button starting 2 days ago, yesterday? I can't remember.
Yeah.
The badges for the 2021 edition of Gallifrey 1 are on sale.
Right. They're calling it 32nd to midnight. Haha, because it's the 32nd year.
Yep.
They're playing hard into the a very James Bond theme. The cover art having Jodie down the 007 barrel. Very clever. Looks very cool. But it's going to be a great one. Just note a couple things on this, and the reason why we'd want you to act quickly on this. Number one, there are fewer badges being sold in general. They had made an announcement almost immediately after the close of our previous iteration just last month that they were reducing the total number of badge sales by 15%, which is considerable. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you don't miss out on that. It doesn't mean that it's going to be an immediate sellout. I would say that maybe you have within the week or so, and before it starts getting to the point where you have to start calling people and saying, "Hey, did you buy an extra badge? Can I buy or can I transfer that last one off of you? What have you?" Because it happens down to the final moments, as it does every year. But the other thing on this, and this is something I got to give credit, Steve Shapansky from over at Scaro pointed this out, and it really sunk in with me. It's a matter of the more badges that are purchased right up front means that the event operators, the showrunners, have more capital on hand to be able to secure the highest quality talent right off the bat, and make sure that they can go out and they can contact the agencies and get all of the people that we really want to spend the weekend with. And that's more difficult to do if weeks go by before some of that additional revenue comes in from the badge sales. So I don't necessarily think that that's going to be as much of a concern as just availability, because some people just think, last year I had about a week and it was fine. Well, this year you've got 15% less, so react accordingly. But just get it done. That way you can gloat with the rest of us and say, we got our tickets, because we're all going to be there next year, right?
Yep. All 3 of us.
Everyone here has a ticket.
Yes.
Yeah, Jay hasn't been at a convention in
it's been a bit.
Many a year.
Yeah.
It's been a minute. Yeah. But as of right now, I just logged onto the site, there are still tickets available. So as of this recording, you still have a chance.
Right.
As of this publishing, who knows? So sorry.
Come on.
If there's not tickets when you listen to this, blame Keir.
Right. That's me.
Or yourself.
I fall down a flight of stairs and didn't edit this thing for a week.
I'm David S. Dawson from the Intellectual Podcast, a show that spotlights creatives from all walks of life, part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other incredibly geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Seeing as this was such a monumental series finale, we need a minute to catch our breath. So
yes,
we're gonna take a break next week. We're gonna compile everything that we've just witnessed. We're gonna do a few rewatches. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with our Series 12 review.
So this is going to put a little bit of homework on our plates, but also, listeners, this is going to put a little homework on yours. We have not only just the rewatches that Jay mentioned, but we also have to go back and look at all of the completely nonsensical predictions and hopes and aspirations that we had been throwing out coming into these 10 episodes. And all the quarters that went flying around. I think I owe some people some money, but I might have some coming back to me, so maybe it's a wash at the end.
I don't remember anything I've said on a previous episode.
Right. So I'm going to have to put it on myself to go back and digest our episodes as well as the episodes that aired and sort of pull that retrospective together. But the homework for the listeners is we want your takes on this as well. So your opinions of the execution of this series in total, how you feel about the Chibnall era writ large at this point, maybe a bit of a comparative analysis between series 11 and 12 if you choose to, however you want to share your thoughts with us about everything that we've just spent the last 2.5 months absorbing and thoroughly enjoying. Or maybe you didn't enjoy it. So, and that's absolutely valid too, but we want to know. So go ahead and get those opinions off to us, and we're taking an extra week to do all this. You happen to benefit from this because it gives you an extra week to sort of compile your thoughts and get them over to us either by email or voicemail or social media and all that good stuff too.
All right. Well, this has been episode 372 of Gallifrey Public Radio. Until next episode, this is Jay saying, "Oh, shoot, I should have said somebody needs to cut you down to size, then zapped you. I was just trigger happy. I'll use it next time."
And this is Keir saying, "Oh, there's loads of robots. Throw a stick in this universe and hit a robot. I used to do that."
And this is Haley saying, "You can be a pacifist tomorrow. Today you have to survive."
We'll see you guys next week.
Alan Z.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Gallifrey Public Radio. Want to keep the conversation going? You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or just send us a good old-fashioned email to feedback@gallifreypublicradio.com. You can also give us a phone call at 754-225-5477. That's 754-CALL-GPR, and you may hear your voice on a future episode of the show. Everything's got to end sometime, otherwise nothing would ever get started. Join us next week for a brand new episode.
Pension. Gallifrey Public Radio is copyright 2020. See you next week.
All right, everybody good?
Yeah, I'm probably going to sneeze once you start talking, though.
Okay, go get it out of your system for crying out loud.
I don't know if it's going to happen.
All you have to do for the intro is just get your name out. She's not going to do it, is she?
No.
God damn it.
All right.
All right.
No, I'm good. Probably.